Hello and welcome to UTI Swatantra. Today we're going to talk about being healthy and wealthy and how that is wise. When we talk about financial health a lot in this program, as you must have seen and have been following all these weeks, but combining health and wealth in the context of managing portfolios, managing investments and savings and investments over a long term is a slightly different way of looking at things. And so let's find out how that can be done and how you should be thinking about doing it. And I hope, like before, you will be sending in your questions. I am joined by Kirti Das Seta. She's a growth planner and works with Naik Wealth Planners, a very large advisory firm in Mumbai. I'm also joined by Sachin Parekh of Save and Protect Financial Planners. Sachin, thank you very much for joining us. Sachin is an independent or like an independent financial advisor, but also works with a lot of companies, individuals across the world. So thank you both for joining me. So let me ask you a question and let me start with you, Kirti. So when you think of health and finance, what does it mean to you? How do you relate to that term or those two terms?
So as you know, there is a saying, health and wealth goes hand in hand. If you don't have either of the two, your life faces some imbalances. So if you have wealth and you are not fit, how are you going to enjoy your wealth?
Okay.
And likewise, if you are fit and you don't have money, obviously you miss out on that, X factor in your life.
Right.
So I completely believe in this theory that you should be having proper focus on your diet, on your health, as well as proper focus on your financial plan, your financial goals, and you should be working out for
so
both
that's
the
where
plans.
so that's where it comes to our own health and our physical and mental well-being, for that matter. What does financial health mean? When you say finance, we say finance, you have good finances, you have solid finances, but when you say are you financially healthy, what would that mean? How do you interpret that?
See, for balanced diet, you need to have a diet which consists of carbohydrates and proteins. So similarly, in terms of financial health, if you are excessively dependent on one asset class, it becomes dangerous. So a right mix of equity and debt will bring that balance to the portfolio. So slowly you have to do it in such a way that you are going through mutual fund route, you are buying into equities, you are buying into debt. So if you invest in say equity funds, you can create long-term assets, and if you are investing in debt, it will help you to maintain liquidity. And
right. So the way you're defining it, health for you is the judicious allocation of funds or savings into different kinds of asset classes.
Yes.
Right. What about you? What does it financial health mean to you?
Yeah, again, I would say the same thing. Financial health means you have a complete control over your spending habits, your savings, and obviously again managing your entire portfolio tactfully, and which again I would say today, because everybody is on mobile, so there are so many mobile applications available to manage your expenses. So it becomes very easy for a person to know how his financial habits are, and he can take a charge. So it's as good as when you chalk out a diet plan, you find out, okay, what are my weaknesses, what are my eating habits. Likewise, with the help of such simple mobile applications, or the best is you go to a consultant. That's the best thing.
Right. So the consultant comes after you've got a sense of your expenses and so on. So you mentioned apps. Any apps that you recommend that you think are good?
Walnut is a good app.
yeah,
Okay.
Walnut is a very good app.
Walnut is a good application.
And that's for managing expenses and getting a sense on how you're spending your money.
Yes, so you can tag your bank account, your credit card, so which manages and it gets linked. So the moment you swipe, the Walnut application will automatically come to know that, okay, you have to, this is the expense that you have done. And then you can actually, it gives a lot of analytical graphs and your spending habits over a period. So like month wise or week wise. So it gives you, a complete picture of what are my savings and what are my expenses.
So the idea is to find out which expenses are important, necessary, and which are avoidable and unnecessary. So you know how your finances are going. So basic aim of using these apps are that you get control on your finances.
Right. And so let's talk about two situations, and I'm sure we'll talk about the situation in between as well. So let's talk about a young person and an old person. I don't know how you define young and old, but let's say in the 20s and then maybe in the 50s.
Yeah.
So how does a person in the 20s, or how should they be thinking about financial health? And I'll come to the 50s in a moment.
So when somebody is in 20s, I know, so I have been through, and you know, it's like when you get money, money, you feel like, okay, I have so many expenses with me, let me first spend. Savings तो you know बाद में होता रहेगा, so that's the normal thing that you get to know from everybody. But I would correlate, if you know, if we are talking about health, I would say somebody who is very conscious about eating healthy food right from the beginning, from early age, that person will have a healthier life till the end. That's what I feel. And same goes with your financial decisions also. The moment you start saving even little bit in your early age, you know, when you're earning, you will be having longer duration to accumulate wealth, and you will be wealthier as compared to person who has started later, maybe at the age of 30 or 35, against somebody who has started from the age of 20.
Right. And you know, I mean, we are trying to obviously draw these two lines and see, or maybe these are two twin tracks, right? So there's the whole diet and diet regime and food and so on, and there's financial health and money and savings and so on. And we're trying to see how these two go together, and they do go together,
yes,
because
yes,
if you're strict about managing your diet, it's quite likely that you will also have the patience and the ability to
comes in your life.
In life, yeah.
Yes.
So maybe you should develop one and hope the other one also comes into play. But what about the people who are starting late in life?
See, people who are starting late in life obviously will have lesser time than somebody who has started at say 25 or 27. But it is in no way a deal breaker. So the moment you decide that no, I want to start investing, you should start investing whatever way. The only thing which you cannot do when you are in the middle ages is go outright into equity. So you need to maintain that balance of assets, which is like equity and debt, and altogether your portfolio should be generating good return.
Right.
That way.
And you know, when we usually say that we want to go on a crash diet, or we want to lose weight suddenly because we've had a a New Year's binge or whatever, and you expect results quickly, and sometimes you get them as well, right? In 2 months time maybe you start feeling slimmer and looking slimmer and all that, and I'm assuming financial health is not the same, or is it?
No. See, financial health requires a lot of discipline, patience,
over time,
commitment, and even means in terms of your physical health also. I will tell you too, when you go on a weight loss plan, you don't get the results immediately, and if those results are immediate, as you said, they will not last. You will eventually put on weight. So if you want to really lose weight, you have to make a lot of changes to your lifestyle, how you are eating, how you are exercising. So similarly, investing is also a long-term exercise. You cannot say expect immediate results overnight. So that is the reason.
Right.
And see, the longer you stay invested, the more the chances of you getting the benefits of compounding. So compounding, as you know, is always known as the eighth wonder of world, because here what happens is that your returns on your investment become a part of your investment, and they start generating returns. So your returns multiply after a period of time, and you get disproportionately high amounts after some time. So this is what makes long-term investing rewarding.
Right. And amongst the people you advise or you consult, do you see resistance to investing early, and obviously if they are your clients, you're able to convince them, and how do you do that?
Before some years there was this resistance, but nowadays with so much awareness and so many advertisements running, people are slowly understanding that financial planning is a very important aspect. Just like you want to be fit for your life, you need to be financially fit also.
Kitida, I mean, what are the maybe interesting examples that you've seen where people have managed to do something dramatic? So we all talk about people who've lost weight, and you say, oh, did you know this person was 90 kilos and became 60 kilos in 3 months. So there must be examples like that in the world of finance, but I know it didn't happen in 3 months. It must have taken longer.
Yeah. So many times it happens that we had a client. So we have many such examples. So I'll just refer to one example. That client was having a good cash flow, but could not save much. So we at our company, we encourage financial planning, and we sit with the client and with his spouse. So we sit with the couple and we understand that okay, what are your understand what are your family income and what are your expenses, and we found out that okay, the expenses were not really the expenses, they were just the lavish spending which they could control easily. And obviously you cannot tell somebody to immediately cut down on their expenses, but yeah, you can give them a real picture. Okay, this is the picture and we will help you in reducing such expenses. For example, the client he had an habit of every month he used to take his son to a 5-star restaurant. So well, we said okay, instead of every month, you can just make it on occasions, maybe on your anniversary, on birthdays. Then there was an example where he was like okay, we have to go out on weekends. So this is the time when we all can go out and enjoy. So why to go every weekend rather than just cut down on those expenses, or every weekend you have to go for a movie. So you can plan, and then the best thing is you can go out, but then you can make use of such coupons and all the discounts that are available on so many applications. You can make use, you can make the smart utilization. It's not that completely cut down on your expenses and sit at home, but make the best use of the technology today we are having with all the applications offering so many discounts.
Right, and that's a good point, because we talk a lot about investing, but rarely do we talk about managing expenses so that we can invest better.
Exactly.
And we assume that we're managing expenses well,
True.
but as you pointed out, actually we don't.
Yeah.
And there's always opportunity to take a check.
Yeah, and that has helped the client a lot, and now drastically. So it's been almost 5 years I'm dealing with the client, and there is a remarkable improvement in his expense habit, in his expenditures and his saving habits, and we have built a good corpus for him.
Okay. Any noteworthy examples in your portfolio?
So there are several
Sachin?
cases like this. As she said, the biggest problem is not your earning. The biggest problem is always the spending. If you are earning 100 rupees and if your expenses are 120, 130, you are depending on credit cards. So lifestyle, if there is no change in your lifestyle, you will never be able to save money. So the main idea is to cut down on the luxuries. You need to have some amount to survive. So you plan it in such a way that your expenses are being taken care of, and at the same time you are able to enjoy also. I don't say just keep investing everything and don't enjoy the life when you have, but at the same time you need to put aside something, and in that way I will tell you there are numerous clients who have started investing with a very small amount, but then suddenly, because that discipline has come in their life, they are now able to write a check which is in crores if they want to buy something. So obviously there are so many examples like that. So they are buying houses.
And you too feel that first taking a look at your own expenses and bringing that under control is a very good first step to, if not already investing, then to step up your investing.
So we always tell our clients that when client comes to us, obviously we are the consultant, we have to give them the solution, but we always tell the client that okay, all the answer to all your questions are almost 99% with you. We are just the facilitator. We are just going to chalk out a plan for you and going to present. So ultimately, you have to know yourself. So when you go to a dietitian, he always tells you that treat your body as your temple, and understand your body, and then go on a diet, and whatever you're eating, eat happily. And so likewise in your financial plan also, you have to completely understand your wants and your needs. That's where you are going to be financially independent, and you can work on your financial goals.
Right. So let's maybe construct some model portfolios. And Sachin, let me begin with you. So I don't know, what is the ideal age point that you want to start with? Is it in the 20s or 30s?
Your choice.
Okay, so let's say 30s. I mean, it's not always that young, but someone who is maybe some track record of employment behind him or her, and then wanting to either start or accelerate. So what would be the ideal way to, or a healthy way to do it today?
See, at any point of time, as I said, you have to decide how your equity and debt allocation will be. So when we do financial planning, we go by the cash flow method, then your goals, time horizon towards those goals. So when you sit with your advisor and you give these figures to them, the advisor is able to then chart out a plan for you, where you should invest, how you should invest, and how you have to take it forward. So being somebody who is in 30s, he can definitely go more towards equity. So equity can become a part of your long-term goals. you need to maintain some liquidity, emergency corpus, so you need to put some money aside, normally 6 months salary or something like that, towards your emergency corpus. So you can use liquid funds for accumulating that kind of corpus.
Right.
So in the early stages, equity and debt should be good enough.
Okay, so let's start taking some questions. So the first one comes from D Chatterjee. He asks, or she asks, I have limited savings each month. How can I invest it in mutual funds? Would you like to?
I would say you can start with any minimum amount. So the minimum amount is roughly around 500,000, and I would say the moment you get a thought, you should be contacting your advisor and investing. So
Okay.
I would say that the amount does not matter.
Okay.
Starting
Right,
matters.
and yeah, and you will surely find more amount to invest if
Yes.
you manage your
If you-
expenses
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Start
Once you
investing.
start-
So once you start, you will slowly find out whether you have surplus after investing that.
Right. So VA Xavier asked, how can I keep track of my investment performance?
So nowadays there are so many apps available, there are websites available wherein you can enter your investments and you will be able to see how the portfolio is generating returns. Best way to do is, if you have a financial advisor, nowadays all financial advisors
They come
have
with their
their
own,
wealth
yeah.
portfolios, so they will just send you a PDF whenever you ask, or you have nowadays have access to
Real time.
websites also,
Yeah.
so they give you username, password, and you can keep track of your portfolio.
Any recommendations again here in terms of where I can go and post all my, say, mutual fund investments, and then I can start
so
tracking?
there have been there are websites like Value Research Online or Money Control. You can upload or you can update your purchase entries, your SIPs, and you can track it. But I would not encourage tracking your portfolio on a regular basis.
Correct, yeah.
I would say you can just have a look once in 6 months. That's an ideal period which I would suggest.
Okay, and does your firm have its own website where you can track?
Yes,
You
yes.
do?
We have our mobile application also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it iOS and Android? Or?
Yes,
it is.
it's both.
Okay. How can I reach different financial goals by investing in mutual funds, Sachin?
See, each financial goal will come with a time horizon, and time horizon decides which way you would be investing. So somebody who is planning to do something in the next 2 years will not be able to put it in equity, so they will go via debt. Somebody who is planning for a goal which is, say, 15 years away, they can always look at equity. So it all depends upon the time horizon of your investments.
Right. Let me put it this way. From your experience, Kirtita, people have different financial objectives, right? House, car, maybe a wedding in the family, destination wedding of self, or holiday, or many holidays.
Correct.
So how do you, I mean, in your experience as you've advised people, so how do you stagger that? Can you combine it and push it out through different funds, or what's the way to do it?
Yeah, so like I told you, when we sit with the client and we chalk out the financial plan, we ask them about their existing investments also. What existing investments, or wherever they have put in bank FDs, in stocks, maybe ESOPs. So we try and understand the time horizon and the maturity of those investments. Maybe if client has invested in any post office schemes which has a maturity due in particular year, and his goal is also falling in that period, so we then tag those goals. So not necessarily we always tag the mutual funds or some other, but whichever year they have a maturity, we try tagging it. And if the goals are long term, now let's have a second scenario where client does not have anything, no past investments, nothing, he's starting afresh, then we start building up, like we are talking about health. So I would like to just relate it with health. It's like the proteins act as a it helps you make your muscle strong. So proteins can be acted as equity in your portfolio, which are for long term goals, maybe 5-7 years and beyond. For any short-term requirement, you can act as a carb, where we can give certain funds, or short-term funds, where it can give the energy boost to the portfolio.
That's interesting.
That's how we can
Yeah.
tag.
So one of the questions that also came up is that if you have a bonus or a sudden payment, or maybe someone's given you money, you've inherited it, what do you do with it?
See, surplus cash, whenever it is available, it is always better to invest it into your portfolio, because by investing you are able to reach the goals faster. So if you get a lump sum amount from somewhere like your bonus or a tax refund, you can always invest into either your long-term goal or short-term goal, depending on which is more important. If you are, like as you said, if you are looking to buy a house in 2 years period, you can put it into a liquid fund, so that your down payment gets ready for your house payment.
Okay. And the other question in the context of food again is junk food is a big threat to good health. So therefore, what could be the threats to the whole concept or approach of financial health?
I would say tip.
Okay.
These days, wherever you go to a restaurant or to garden, people around you will talk about tips. कि tip क्या है? कि ये अच्छा है, ये अच्छा है, अच्छा मैंने इसमें पैसा बना, अच्छा you also invest. So I would say please stay away from all those tips. Maybe your friends, your colleagues, they are in good faith. They are telling you that okay, buy this, invest in this particular fund or invest in this stock. But please don't fall prey for all these junk food such tips. I would say you can track it if you can track it by yourself, nothing like it, or else please go to a proper financial consultant who can help you.
And if I've been doing a lot of this, I mean having junk food or buying in a very unregimented way, buying through recommendations, tips, SMSs. So what and how do I remedy that today?
I would say certainly you can visit a consultant and you can show your portfolio, because many times it happens that not all tips are wrong. So you can show your portfolio to a consultant and he will be the best person to advise you for that.
Right. So I think what both of you are saying is always go to someone so that that person has the ability of seeing it from a step back.
You're taking out emotions out of your investing. So when you are doing investing for your own self, there are emotions which are involved. So you are not able to take rational decisions. When you involve a third party, definitely that level of emotion or attachment is lesser, so they are able to give you more proactive results. And see, even if you are not approaching a advisor or something, you can always have a relook on your portfolio, assess which schemes are helping you to advance your goals, take out schemes which are not doing it, and you should be again coming back to that plan.
Right. So we're running out of time. So let me put the last question from Amit Sharma, who asks, what are the different types of mutual funds I can invest in? And let's, I mean, that's a very somewhat general question, but let's put it in the context of what we've been talking about, which is financial health. And we touched upon this in the beginning, but as you close, what are the kind of portfolios that you would like to leave behind for the people who are watching?
See, I would say there are many funds, so it will be best if an advisor suggests such funds. But when I'm talking about category, then there are certain categories which somebody which one can look at putting in his portfolio. One would be the liquid fund category, wherein you have the opportunity for it's like emergency funding. You can just park your money, and for any emergency requirement you can pull out the money from liquid funds. For then there are short term funds where you know that okay, I will be needing my funds after 2-3 years. So there is a category called equity savings. So that is a wonderful category where you want a conservative returns but slightly better than the liquid or debt side. And then comes the equity funds. Again, in that it's a mix, large cap, multi cap. So I would say these are the buckets where one can look at his portfolio: liquid fund category, short term category of debt funds. Then there is again a category in equity funds. So this can be a mix.
Right.
One can look at.
So, and what's your pick, and to what extent should I be looking at SIPs and not?
See, SIPs again depend upon your cash flow. So if you are doing SIPs, you have to decide how much you are able to take out from your income every month without disturbing your expenses. So if you are doing SIPs, ideally SIPs are generally done in equity funds, because to get the benefit of SIP you need to give it time. So if you are doing it through equity fund or a balance fund, which is called as nowadays equity hybrid, the returns will be better and the chances of making money is good.
Okay, so the question I usually pose to my guests in this show is that the markets are maybe a little now uncertain because there are political changes likely. We don't know which way things are going. What would you tell your clients who come to you? And
see, short term trends of market, if you are following, it will always have a bad result for your portfolio. It is always better to concentrate on your goals rather than which party is winning or which coalition is winning. Sorry. The things which are important for your financial goals are like what amount I need, how much time do I have, what is my risk tolerance. Try to concentrate on these three things rather than the external market factors.
Right.
Because if you give time, definitely results will come.
How do you see that? I'm sure all your clients put this question, particularly new ones, right? I mean, first thing they say, "Arey, but market is looking weak."
No, but I would completely, I will say a big thank you to Amphi for coming out with advertisements. So they really, they anchor clients that, you have to do. So there is an advertisement that, two guys are standing in a wedding and they are just showering to the couple, and the friend says, "अरे तूने बेटी के लिए SIP किया क्या?" तो this guy says, "नहीं यार, अभी मार्केट तो बहुत खराब है." तो ये बोलता है, तेरी बेटी तो अभी छोटी है, उसकी शादी को तो 18 साल है, मतलब you have good amount of time with you, then why you're worried about today's volatility? So I would completely support his view that rather than looking at market conditions, you have to make your client understand that when are we going to touch our goal. If our goal is 5, 7, 10 years ahead, then today you should not be worrying about the volatility.
Right, and that's
Focus
a very
on your goals.
Yeah,
correct, and that's a very and goals mostly are long term or medium term at least, including health goals, right? I mean, so because you want to stay healthy for the long term, right? Thank you very much, and for joining me on this. We've covered fair ground. I mean, I think there is a convergence between the worlds of financial health and our real health. And if you're disciplined about one, you're usually disciplined about the other. Also remember, as my guests have said repeatedly, manage your expenses and you'll find more money to invest or save for the future, and there are some very interesting apps to do that. And finally, choose your portfolio well, track it and manage it in a way that it helps you over the long term. We're going to come back on the 11th of April at 5 o'clock with another session, and it's called the IPL, which is of course the flavor of the season right now, the Investment Premier League. Thanks for watching.